Garry, welcome to FICO World. I really appreciate you being here with us to talk about human collaboration with artificial intelligence. One of the questions I had for you, which is a question you probably get asked very, very often, is about the rematch you had with Deep Blue in terms of the famous chess match. And you know, I remember that day very, very, very clearly as a researcher at that time with artificial intelligence, and wondering what that meant. Well, was that a point where we would see a change in terms of what the capabilities of artificial intelligence would be? And I'd like to get your insights around, you know, what that meant to you, but also what does that mean 20 years later as we see, you know, the industry moving forward?
Obviously, the rematch in 1997 was a watershed moment because machine was capable of winning a normal classical chess game, a match actually of 6 games against current world champion. The irony is that contrary to the expectations of the founding fathers of computer science, Alan Turing, Lord Shannon, Norbert Wiener, the machine that succeeded in defeating world champion was not a machine that, as they expected, would be emulating human mind. It was brute force. I'm always resisting Deep Blue being called intelligent machine. It was as intelligent as their alarm clock, but it was very fast. 200 million positions per second. It was at that time a triumph of parallel processors, of this pyramid of parallel processors that IBM succeeded to put together, and had a maximum, at the time, maximum output. But what we learned in 1997 was that for a machine to be superior in the game of chess or in any other game, or now understanding any closed system, it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to make less mistakes than human opponent. And even the best humans are poised to make mistakes. We're vulnerable, so that's our nature. Yeah. And what I learned after that match is that it would be useless to compete for just for a long period of time. Though, objectively speaking, analyzing the games of the match, and today you can do it with your mobile phone. The free chess app on your mobile phone is stronger than Deep Blue, thanks to the Moore's law. Objectively, I think I was stronger, but it doesn't matter whether I was stronger having higher rating or being a better player. It's about you playing this very game, this very match, and how you can control your nerves. Yeah. I immediately saw an opportunity for us working together, because I also recognized that that in chess we would have unique opportunity to find out the best ways of collaboration, because we could bring together human intuition, human fantasy, human judgment, and machine's brute force of calculation and memory.
Yeah, and you make a great point, right, about the brute force nature of this, right? So, you know, we have artificial intelligence, which, you know, is programmed, right, and then you put the computing power against it, and then you have, you know, machine learning, right, that starts to learn its own relationships, right, based on algorithms. And, you know, I think that is really an interesting part of how, you know, the concept of artificial intelligence is moving. It's going beyond explicit programming to its self-learning capability. What's your thoughts about the evolution?
Yes, going back to the founding fathers, Claude Shannon in the late 40s, he talked about type A and type B machines. Yeah. Type A being brute force, following human instructions and working with the massive information provided by humans, and just doing things much faster. But switching from type A to type B, that was the dream of the founding fathers. That's the machine that could emulate human thinking, the machine that would be more like an expert. Yeah. As a matter of fact, when you look at the game of chess on many other eras, type B was a failure. Yeah. It's human-machine collaboration, the human working with type A machine proved to be much stronger than any type B machine that we could come up with. What is happening now, we are just facing sort of a new wave, a new generation of computers, which I could even call type C. Those machines, they need only instructions. They don't need information that we have been accumulating over decades or over centuries. All we need is just to come up with a framework, to design this framework, to ask the right questions, and to put them at work. Yeah. And these machines, they can generate their own data. They can even look at their code and just to find ways to optimize it, just to get better results. Basically, so doing the better job that their creators.
Right. And at FICO, we've had neural network models in fraud detection now for 25 years, and a lot of our customers are used to working with machines. So for example, we would generate a case that's most likely financial fraud or crime, and then an analyst would work that case, and that feedback of what the human analyst deems a good case or a bad case in terms of the likelihood of fraud gets fed back. And so, we're used to this sort of concept of humans and machines in our business, and you in the work that you do, working together. But, if you go to the popular culture, right, there's this tremendous fear of artificial intelligence. And can you comment on that? Because you're all over the world, you're talking to many different people in many different areas, but it seems like it's pervasive, right, this sort of concern about artificial intelligence, machine learning.
Absolutely. This is a dominant feeling among general public. I think it has been fueled by the dystopian production from Hollywood, but I think it's also somehow connected to the fear of the future. Life is good, so people are afraid that the status quo can be broken, and they instinctively understand that AI is bringing drastic changes. And it's very easy to scare people off by just presenting this doomsday scenarios. Yeah. And it's more difficult to come up with a positive outcome, because people want to know exactly what will be. The answer is we don't know. That's a normal state of any scientific development, that we have something new, it's some actual breakthrough technology, and it brings changes. By the way, it brings both negative and positive changes. Overall, it will be positive, but we could immediately see the consequences. Yeah. The jobs being lost, though I always say jobs are never lost. They are just, they evolve. Mm-hmm. They just move from one industry to another industry. But it's also, I think it's important we should disconnect the AI from this dystopian vision. Because we also could see the shift of the sci-fi literature from utopian expectations of 50s, 60s, maybe still 70s, moving to the dystopian, the Terminator, the Matrix. Yeah. So that's why I'm actually aiming first at the definition of AI. I insist we should not use the word artificial intelligence, which smells sci-fi to me, but augmented intelligence. The machines, they could help us. Those are still the tools, even the most intelligent machines. And as in the past, the old technology made us stronger and faster, these new intelligent machines will make us smarter, capable of doing anything.
Yeah, I agree. And if we look at the industry, right, and we look at kind of the public's perception of artificial intelligence, right, we see things like the recent sort of accident with Uber, right, and we see that as a failure, or it's presented as a failure, right, but as we both know, machines will, algorithms make mistakes, and
this is another fundamental psychological mistake. Yep. People expect machines to be perfect. No, there's no perfection. Never in the future, the most sophisticated, the most brilliant machines, creations of humans, will be able to reach 100% perfection. There's always room for improvement, and that's exactly where we belong to. Yep. So it's a bit odd for us. I think it's even diminishing to feel that we have to accept our role just at the last few decimal places. Yep. But it doesn't matter. So whether it's 2, 3, or 4% left for us to make the right choice, because that's how we can actually channel in the right direction the massive power and all this intelligence that machine can bring into the game. It's about finding the right interface of these relations. And also people are just, they always look at any failure in this new industry as a harbinger of global disaster. Right. Yes, things happen, but statistically, it's much safer to have a computer to drive your car. And I bet you that in 25 years, we'll have our children, grandchildren having conferences, looking at statistics and say, wait a second, how stupid could be these people driving cars? Because that was, the car was the worst man killer in history. Yeah. So it's a psychological resistance unfortunately is being propelled and fueled by political interest, by some lobbying interest, and in general public is, I think, is very receptive to these negative forecasts.
Yeah. And we've been conditioned, right, by the media and by movies. And I think one of the things that is important, you bring it up, right, is this evolution, right, and what we're going to focus on to make the machines smarter and allow them to refine themselves. And in our business, right, where we build these models for financial institutions, we very often have to ensure that we can explain the models to regulators, that we're monitoring the performance. And what's your thought around putting, and there's also this sort of concept of ethical AI and organizations around that. What's your thought around, what are the guide rails that we want to have around, all the people that are trying to play AI?
Yeah, look, first I don't understand the concept of ethical AI. The capacity for evil is exclusively human.
Yes.
It's not about AI just all of a sudden getting nuts. It's about dictators, terrorists, and other bad guys, who are plenty in the world, getting hands to these new machines.
Yeah.
And it's, what an irony, using the greatest inventions of the free world to undermine the very foundation of the free world. That's real danger.
Yes.
Yeah, and so let's concentrate on that. Let's stop worrying about very, very distant future, which may come, may not come, and look at the real problems. Also, we should remember, technology, any technology is agnostic. Yep. It's neither good nor evil. It depends on the hands that are using them. So, and it's also easier to use new technology for destruction than for creation.
Yeah.
First, we had nuclear bomb, and then nuclear reactors.
Right.
Yeah. And this technology offers unlimited opportunities, but unfortunately for both ends,
yeah,
good and evil. And that's why I think we should concentrate on social fabric of the society that is using this, rather than just trying to safeguard us against potential rebellion of the machines.
No, it's an excellent point, because we see that in our business too, right? The criminals are using as much artificial intelligence as we are to try to protect, the finances.
It's in hacking.
Yeah.
If you're on the defensive side, you're losing.
Yeah.
Because there's so many ways of finding sort of the weak spot.
Yeah.
So it's unfortunate, but the whole idea that let's slow down the progress, I think it's absolutely ridiculous, because you cannot stop science. You cannot stop scientific development. If you try to impose severe regulations here in the United States or in Europe, as a result, the research will shift to the other side of the world, to Chinese dictators, communist dictators, to Putins, to Ayatollahs in Iran. And now, unlike 50 years ago, just to build a nuclear bomb then, you needed nuclear reactors. I mean, you needed massive infrastructure. Yeah. You don't need massive infrastructure. You just have to shift your brains, even without shifting them physically. You need to establish communication. So we just have to recognize that it's a game. It's an endless game, and our only advantage is that we are much better off, because the free world always was leading the development. Because to challenge the existing norms and knowledge, you have to come from the free world. You have to accept failure as a part of this process. Right. And the problems on the other side of socialist central planning side is that they always want to know who will be the winner. But when you have 1,000 startups, you cannot pick up Google out of them.
Correct.
So there will be Google, but you don't know which one, and that's the fundamental problem for unfree world, that they always want to know, what is the right horse to bet on. Yeah.
So it's a natural selection of.
It's a natural selection, and that's why when we look at the history of science, it's almost everything, if not entirely the whole breakthrough science, came out of the free world, where failure was inevitable partner of those who pioneered one industry or another.
Absolutely. So at FICO, we create a lot of patents and a lot of new algorithms, right? And it's primarily to stay ahead of the bad guys, right? And we evolve that over time, and it's a big part of our legacy and really important, right? As we see this evolution of adoption of AI. And for us, we have to explain our models, so we spend a lot of time on this concept of explainable AI, right, where we can talk about what drives models. What's your thoughts about the current explainable AI and these sort of topics like GDPR, where
that's the most important and interesting question, and I think it's hard to answer right now. But you're right, explainable AI, might be an issue because we are moving into this new generation of computers that will be literally black boxes. Going back to Deep Blue, if you had enough time and patience, spending weeks and looking at the miles and miles of logs, you could go back to the original intention, why this move or not that move was made.
Yep.
Today we are looking at the computers. We can talk, for instance, about AlphaZero, the DeepMind project, where even their creators, they're not aware why one version is playing better than another one.
Yeah.
And that's a problem for regulators. That's a problem also for scientists, and that's a problem for business, because in many cases you might be facing questions that you cannot answer. And I'm afraid it's a package that we have to buy. I don't think that with the further development of these deep learning programs, we'll be able to control the square one.
Yeah.
So this is how and why the certain process started. Though we have to recognize that this uncertainty could cause some discomfort, because certain decisions might be based on very funny assessments. I mean, for instance, I was thinking about the situation that you download the data to your new super powerful computer from 1,000 cars, same model, same year of production, different colors. For some reasons that no one can explain, of course, the red cars perform better than the cars of other colors. Now, for us, we understand, this is causation and correlation. This fact means nothing. It just you will put almost zero value. I mean, actually zero value. Machine, it could decide that the red paint makes cars run faster. Now, in calculating something else, in just making predictions for something very remote from this car business, it may actually integrate the red paint assessment into the decision-making tree, and to come up with some crazy solution. That's why I think it's very important for us to work on interface. Human-machine interface. It becomes even more important with these powerful machines, and that's those machines that will operate, within the framework that we design for them. So the human role of not even guiding them, I would use the word being a shepherd, because you have these AI flocks, and you just have to make sure that they move in the right direction toward the richer pasture of data.
Yeah, and it's a great point, because like GDPR says, you're going to have these automated decisions, right? But as machine learning becomes more and more difficult to try to understand, right? You need the shepherds, right? Because they're going to look at it and they may determine that, okay, we're not making the right sort of decisions. And one of the things that I look at, I'm certainly looking at new ways that we can explain AI and new research, and we'll see what algorithms do as time evolves. But the other really important thing is that interface, that monitoring and that feedback. I think is critical, right?
Interface is absolutely critical. It will become more and more important with more powerful machines, because our relations will evolve, but I think it will empower us. So machines will not replace us; they will promote us.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, Garry, this has been a great pleasure. I really appreciate all your insights, and thank you again for joining us here at FICO World.
Thank you.
Thank you.